go back a few years, I had been a nominal Adventist at best. Actually, I wasn't an Adventist. I was in the being a third generation Adventist. I had rebelled in a spectacular way. But that's not my testimony. My testimony is when I decided to come back to the Lord. I'm thanking God for the Lasalle family because I had purposed in my heart to go back to the Lord and start a new spiritual journey with Him in a way that I'd never really experienced. So I went through the baptismal class here with Pastor Sean Young, and it was I think it's an experience that every person who's going through baptism needs to go through, and it helped me plan the way I was going to go according to the Lord. I had also purposed to start a family, and so I had to give up my tobacco use, my alcohol use. So I wasn't going to have child or children and breathe tobacco over their faces. So, and that's another testimony for another day. So after I'd been baptized, Elder Yeboah had been an influence in terms of, he came to me and said, "We have a prayer retreat. Would you like to come?" And I said yes. So I went on one of several prayer retreats, and I didn't know how to pray. I thought I did know how to pray. But the lessons that he had outlined taught me how to walk and pray. It taught me early morning prayer. Would get up at the prayer retreat at 5 a.m. And I remember it was at the Lashute site, and you'd sit outside and said, cry to the Lord, speak to the Lord. I learned how to do that. And Sabbath afternoon, you take a walk in the countryside all by myself, and you tell the Lord everything, you speak to Him. So I learned how to pray. I came back. There were I was still missing something. Try read the Bible. I'd try my best, but I couldn't. And so a brother came, the Lord placed a brother in my path. That was Brother Stanley. And through Brother Stanley and others that I got to know, I started reading the Bible. How I started reading it was, he introduced me to the spirit of prophecy. And for me, that was a big turnaround because I could read with greater understanding. And it has helped me develop in such a way that if I had been faithful all these years, I believe the Lord would have done a lot more for me and a lot more for others. But because I haven't been consistent, but it taught me a way to study from the ability to synthesize what's happening in Genesis and Revelation, linking it with Isaiah and Ezekiel in ways that, even when I'm working, it comes to mind, and you feel like I need to stop and read more. And so when I came across this ability, he said, start in Genesis, take patriarchs and prophets and read it chapter by chapter, and you'll find one verse, inspiration opens it up with a whole chapter. When you're done with that, you get to Kings, you open prophets and Kings, and it takes you all the way to the end of the Old Testament. Read Desire of Ages, learn of Christ. That's in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. And then from there, jump to Acts of the Apostles. In between there, I'm learning about angels from the truth about angels. I'm learning about child guidance. When you hear of Samuel, you go to child guidance. I'm hearing about the working of the mind through mind, character, personality. And there's so much more, church, that, I have goosebumps when I think about how much information is there. I don't have to listen to any of these other preachers or whatever it is that's outside. We have everything that God wants us to be faithful to right here. And I would be so much of a difference to other people. Now that I have this little knowledge, I'm asking him and working that he might change the way I think, the way I behave, to correspond with what I'm studying. And my testimony is that I would ask for prayer for each and every one of us, including myself, that we stay faithful to what God has given to us. And as he opens up more and more his truths to us, because it's an ever unfolding thing, if you really, really get into it, you'll be able to think in ways that are beyond our comprehension. And I haven't even touched even a tiny bit of it because obviously of my inconsistency. But my testimony is that it has brought me from a place where I would have walked right out because there was nothing else for me. I learned how to pray, then so what? But after this, now I can sit down and read and understand for myself. Whatever I don't understand, God eventually opens it up somehow. And that it's a challenge for myself and for everybody to pick up the word, study it faithfully, and we will all be blessed.